Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Really excited to have an industry expert on today. I have Alex Jabr. She is the co-founder of BodymetRx here in KC. I got connected to her in the health and wellness space and had an amazing early consultation with her and her fiance, Justin, co-founders together, to understand the body composition testing, the data results that they're providing people who are on a health journey, to understand more about your personal makeup, whether it is you're looking to lose weight, you're looking to increase your muscle, if you're looking to better understand what you can do, from meal planning and cardio and fitness. They get into a very customized, very personalized approach with you to help you get to the path that you want to be on to feel better about where you want to be. So if this is something that is of interest to you, if you're trying to work on your body composition and you have a goal in mind, then this is an episode that you're definitely going to want to tune into, and you're definitely going to want to schedule a consultation with Alex and Justin to see what they can do for you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Alex Jabr, co-founder of BodymetRx. You're in Overland Park, but you serve all of KC.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about this really cool thing that you and your fiance opened here because it started in California.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And I got introduced to you by my friend Ashley. So shout out to Ashley. But tell us who you are. And then we're going to get into everything that you do. And then I actually brought my test results as well because you were kind enough to invite me in so I could experience it firsthand and talk about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things is I think it's really hard to describe it, especially over email. And so that's when we were kind of getting into it. I was like, how about you just come in?
No, I think that's very accurate. I would have looked at the website, or I'm sure I did, and was like, this is like a foreign language to me, having never gone through it before.
Yeah.
And then now having gone through it, and then even doing the research for the podcast, I was like, oh, yep, that's that. So,
yeah. And it's kind of one of those things that I find that it's almost a challenge. That's our biggest challenge with establishing ourselves as a business here in the metro is that, you could open up any at ordinary coffee place and you know exactly what to expect. You're going to get your pastries, you're going to get your teas, you're going to get your options and lattes. And with us, there aren't a lot of testing facilities like us. And so it's a little more difficult for, people have never heard of it before. And so to just convey that. So I really appreciate this opportunity to have a chat about it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get into it. Yeah.
But like you said, BodymetRx was founded in California, Southern California. In fact, Justin and I, my fiance, who's owner of this location here in Overland Park, we were customers of theirs. I actually started going to BodymetRx in 2016, and then he started going in 2020, about the time we started dating. And so we've both used these services as customers needing help just getting healthier. I mean, if you met Justin, and he's a, about 6 foot, 200 pounds, triathlete, has done multiple Ironmans. And when I met him, he was 60 pounds heavier, chasing beer, and that was about it. Like, that was about the cardio he got. And I remember him telling me, like, I want to do an Ironman. And I was like, what's that? And he tells me that it includes, like 2 miles of swimming and 100 and some miles of biking, and then you top it off with a marathon. Yeah. And I thought in my head, like, oh, that's cool. Like,
I'm really supportive. Whatever you want to do. Yeah.
And he went in, he did the testing. They gave him, a plan, and he stuck to the plan, and he worked with his trainer, and the trainer went over his results. And, he ran his first half Ironman the next year, and then he's finished, I think, 7 at this point, 2 of them being fulls.
Unreal.
I'm like so proud of him.
Yeah.
He's lost a ton of weight.
As he should be.
He hasn't drank in 6 years just for his own health. And, it's just really incredible. And I've had my own journey with it as well. And so all that to say, in October of 2020, he took a job out here in Kansas City. So he moved from California out here to Kansas City. And he's like, I really miss having the testing there. I really miss having these things, because you go in for one, but then as you're making progress and you're, tweaking things, you have to go back and retest and see if it's working. And he's like,
which I need to do, by the way.
Can't wait to see it. And so he's like, why don't I open one out here? And I thought, well, okay, like it seemed like so far-fetched of an idea. Yeah. And he sat down with Marley, the founder, and even her coworker was like, I don't think she's going to do it. She's never said yes to anybody's proposition. He meets her, she likes him immediately, and she's like, okay, let's talk. And it's like everything just fell into place. Yeah. Everything that needed to fell into place, and he was able to open one up out here. We found the perfect location. We love our landlords. And really it's just the opportunity to let people know we're there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was like the first franchise opportunity. Is it even a franchise?
We're partnerships.
Partners. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Okay. So then you moved out here
2 years later. So I've been here 4 years now.
Okay, got it. And you guys are super happy here. Okay, great. So tell us exactly what BodymetRx is.
Okay, so
who is the ideal client? Who should be reaching out to you as they're listening to this after this is over? What will they get out of it?
Great. So for starters, we are a health and wellness fitness testing facility. So we are not the place that you go to get meal prep. We're not the place that you go to do training, but we will give you the data that you need to enhance those efforts. And so the idea is that if you have any concept of data and improving anything, so whether we're talking systems with work or changes in our body, you can't improve what you don't measure.
Yeah.
Nobody has tried to lose weight and has disregarded how many calories they should be eating per day. Nobody has tried to build muscle and not kept track of the amount of weight that they're building up each week, right? You have to make changes, you have to reassess, and you have to measure it somehow. And, you know, I grew up on a diet. Like I had dealt with obesity at the age of 9 years old. So I know the mental gymnastics it takes to get into a healthy relationship with the scale. Yeah. And not to get too far off track, but had I understood that I had a lot of, I mean, I was overweight, but if I understood I had a lot of muscle in my body, I would have stopped fighting with it so much.
Yeah. And you really have enlightened me with that. And and we'll get into what I went through and what I've learned from it and more specifics. But I do think that that's really interesting for somebody who's never gone through testing like this before. You have to. You have to at least do it one time with you guys. And then, of course, you'll get to the point where you want to go back and see how it's changing if that's important to you. Because I had never done anything like that. I never had any idea percentages. I'm looking here through like the different, kind of reports testing that you'll get. We'll get into those, but I love that.
Well, and I realize I haven't answered your first question yet, which is the testing that we do. So essentially we do body composition analysis. So think DEXA scan. That's kind of the gold standard. And we are the closest thing to the, I guess if you were to do DEXA as being like your number one, we're a very close number two. And the only difference between us and DEXA is that we do not do bone density, which means we don't use radiation, which there's nothing wrong with a small dose of radiation to check that. But if you're worried about bone density, that's kind of out of our scope. That should be between you and a physician.
Okay.
So a lot of times people go looking for a DEXA and they come to us instead, which, you know, either is going to be fine for things like visceral fat, which is the fat that lines your organs. We'll talk more about that. Muscle mass, muscle distribution, hydration, cellular health. This is going to get you kind of your overall view. And yeah, it's going to have your weight on there and body fat percentage, but it's going to have so much more. So that's like, you know, kind of the one we recommend to everybody.
For people who don't know what DEXA is, do you want to get into that or just get into is it Sika?
So we do the Sika. So DEXA and Sika are both body composition analysis tests, but a DEXA, I'm fairly certain you need a prescription for it. Like your doctor recommends you to it, or you go to a facility that has it and they have a doctor on staff that, you know, writes it basically.
Got it.
So we are the most accurate alternative to DEXA.
Okay.
What we hear people talking about a lot are like the InBody. And what I tell people all the time, because InBody you see at gyms, you see them at supplement stores. What I tell people all the time is, it's not as accurate. However, it's not a bad measurement. Like use it, but don't compare it. It's comparing apples to oranges. You can't look at those two things and think they're comparable.
That's like the thing that you'll go on for free. A lot of times step on, I don't know if you hold something.
You hold
I've done it once before.
The little
but
handles. I've done them before too.
Yeah.
The biggest difference with that one is it measures your lean body mass, which is great, but the Sika that we do measures your actual muscle mass. So we know exactly how much muscle you have and where it's distributed on your body. So if you were to put me on the Sika, you'd see that my left leg actually has less muscle than my right because I never properly rehabbed a back injury that affected my ability to walk on that leg for several months.
Sure. Yeah.
So you see those kind of imbalances and you can kind of work with them. So if I was, you know, wanting to go back to PT and actually work with my physical therapist, if you've ever done PT, you know how challenging it can be. We would work on rebalancing that and retesting every few weeks to see if the interventions are working. So that's just one of their tests. We also do a 3D body scan, which allows us to take 600 digital images of your body surface area, which will give you head to toe measurements. You know, a lot of people, if they're changing body composition, they will notice changes in their body shape and size before they know changes on the scale. And this will pick up on that very quickly.
Which you showed me, I believe, your example, actually. And I have my report here because I literally don't care if anyone sees anything. But I mean, I went through the whole thing and it kind of shows like the profile, right? So like going back, if I have made some progress, it would show the different line of where things maybe have become slimmer.
Yeah, I call that my Michelin Man kind of bust.
Yeah.
I use it for online shopping though, because like a lot of times, you know, you'll see the measurements and I'll go pull up my that's a StyQ is the brand. I'll pull that up and I'll go, okay, yeah, I'm actually a medium on this one, or I'm actually a large on that one, and I'll just use it for those purposes.
That makes sense. I didn't even think about that as I'm looking through this now. Okay. Yeah.
And then the third one, we have 4 total, by the way. So the third one is a resting metabolic rate test. This is a medical grade test that is used a lot of times in bariatric facilities and weight loss programs. And they use this basically, you remember being in the chair, breathing
little
into
weird
a
at
tube.
first. Yep.
Oh yeah. I don't like the little nose plug that goes over it, but you can alternatively just plug your nose. And the point is just to really like melt into the moment, be as relaxed as possible, because we're going to find out exactly how many calories you need per day minimum. And I don't know if you remember the 90s and early 2000s where it was like 1,200 calorie diet, 1,200 calorie diet. So we were always conditioned to worry about not going over, but we were never told the cautionary tale of what your minimum should be.
Yep. Which we talked about that because I think, so much has evolved over time, and I want to talk about that too. But for example, with mine, you guys showed me that basically I need 1,800 calories a day. And I always would have thought, based on how I've been trained from the 90s, that I need 1,200 or no more than 1,300 or 1,500 or something like that, which is also very hard to keep to.
Yeah.
If you enjoy food like myself, as we talked about.
Oh, I love food.
But I thought that was really interesting. But you can probably get into now or later, like why I need to have that amount versus like what's going to happen if I work out on top of that, burning calories, whenever we want to dive into that.
We'll for sure come back to that. The fourth test I just want to bring up is our VO2 max test. So there's a lot of discussion, especially lately, about longevity, and visceral fat is very much a big part of it. Body composition, muscle mass is a big part of that discussion, but so is VO2 max. And I think that's probably the one that's the most intimidating for people. That was definitely the one that was most intimidating for me.
Running on the treadmill.
Yep, it's the running on the treadmill, which we do have accommodations for people who may not be able to run on treadmill. We've had clients that come in that have drop foot or they have lower back issues, so we put them on. We have a Peloton bike as an alternative. We also have the option if someone is a cyclist and they want to bring in their bike to do the VO2 max on their actual equipment. We do offer that on the weekend special.
Okay.
That's something Justin does. He's able to do. But all that said, the VO2 max is going to measure your body's maximum ability to utilize oxygen during exercise. And that's kind of the scientific term for it. But essentially, they uses that information to determine what's your cardiovascular fitness, like what's your health. And there's a different number depending on your gender and age, but usually above 40 is supposed to be good. So if you're not quite there, you can continue to work out and do different types of zone 2 training, which we can also tell you with the results of your VO2 max to increase that. And then you pair that with your metabolism test and you look at, oh, wow, how many calories do I actually burn when I work out? And how many of those calories come from fat versus carbs? And so for me, wanting to burn more fat, I might go, I actually only need to go on a hot girl walk, not this like heavy, high intensity spin class, because I burn more fat at a lower intensity than I do at higher intensity. Whereas Justin, who's an athlete, maintains a heart rate of 140, he's actually going through 200 grams of carbs per hour. So he actually needs to plan his nutrition around that.
Yeah.
So how one person uses it is very different depending on.
Completely individualized.
Yeah.
Okay. So to be clear, you have the Sika body composition scan that you start with. That's pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
And that is, no, this is the next one, right? Yeah. Then you have the 3D body scan, which is the 21 body measurements?
It's multiple body measurements. It uses 600 images. It's
right.
Infrared images to do it. Those both take like 30 seconds.
Right. Those are super fast. Personal metabolism test, how many calories you burn at rest.
Correct.
So that's where you're sitting.
Yep.
how many you burn doing nothing, basically working at your desk or whatever, and then the VO2 max, of course, how many you burn at different intensities, exercising.
That's it. So we take all that information, we look at what your goals are, what you're struggling with. We might pair you. We also work with dietitians that have worked with our company for 10 years. We have cardio coaches that can create programs for you, and just basically to supplement your stuff, or you take this stuff to your people. We've had people take it back to their doctors, to their physical therapists, to their trainers, to their nutritionists, or their meal preppers.
Yeah. And they can analyze, they can kind of like customize. Yeah. So I was going to say, while you don't make the meals and you don't have the gym or whatever, you have the people that you can refer your patients or clients to.
We have the data.
You have all the data.
Your data. So it's not guessing. So if you go on to like online and you're like, how many calories do I need to be eating when I'm a 41-year-old female, that weighs this much? It's going to calculate it based on a generic, it's not a bad thing. Like, still use that. It's better than nothing, but it's not going to be the most accurate the way this is.
Yeah. So this is really for people who are probably on a more intentful mission that they want to slim down, get healthier, have more muscle mass, obviously reduce fat. What else?
So I hate to say we're for everybody, because I know that's like a marketing nightmare. Like they say, don't say you're for everybody.
But you really are.
We have clients anywhere from 12 to 90 years old.
Yeah, I love that, because we talked about even having my kids potentially come in and kind of look at them.
Yeah,
too.
we work with athletes. As somebody who struggled with my weight at 9 years old, I have a big heart for that. And I'm like, oh, just like let me help you find something that's so good about your body, and while you work on the thing that you want to fix, and let's do it in a healthy way. But we work with a lot of people who are on GLP-1 medications. So these are your Ozempic, Mounjaro, semaglutides, that kind of stuff, because there is a very wrong way to take those.
Yeah, I want to get into that based on what you know about it, and because I of course asked about that too, just to get your idea of, like, I'm sure people are coming in all the time, probably asking about it or on it, and
sometimes they're afraid to tell us they're on it, and so we want to just make sure. And once we figured out people were taking them so regularly, we learned everything that we could about it, because the healthiest way to take them is to make sure that you're measuring how your body is responding to it, and you're measuring that you're intaking enough food. And one of the concepts we're talking to one of our clients is she can't get it out of her head that she actually needs to eat food to lose weight. And she's really struggling with that program.
I would imagine that's going to be that is quite common across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, even to some degree, I feel like it's sort of ingrained in me to think like, even though I know I have the data here, it's like, remember, get to 1,800 calories, even though your mind still has this like 1,200 that pops up, as like an image in my mind.
Totally.
So, yeah. Okay, so let's kind of dive into that a little bit more, because I do think that that's a really interesting topic. And obviously, I know nothing about it firsthand from like a medical perspective, but the sponge that I am, I hear so much about it through podcasts and reading and everything like that. And I feel like a big thing now is we're learning more about it, but I feel like one thing that I hear a lot is that you go on the GLP and people lose muscle. And that is going to be detrimental. Why? Let's kind of get into the details of why that is so important and why they should come in and get assessed with you guys, so then they can come up with the plan to not lose the muscle, because what happens to us when we get to that point?
Well, first of all, one of the things that another approach that we really take that I really pride myself on, because I didn't have this in all aspects of my life, is that we do treat obesity as a medical condition. Like we look at it as it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And we can help you, demystify these like mysteries of your own body to help you have a better approach to it.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to and so when it came to, there's some people that have some really strong opinions about GLP-1s, and I'm like, you don't get it both ways. We can't have weight biases and treat people poorly for being overweight and then be mad at how they're going to lose it. So,
do you think a lot of that, out of curiosity, started because it all began with TikTok? Like,
which part? The GLPs?
The kind of like the either the shaming of it or the bias against it, potentially, because maybe it started in a way that wasn't conventional.
It was a scarcity, because GLPs were introduced as diabetic medications for type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And then doctors were finding ways to prescribe it to their patients that weren't quite type 2 diabetic yet, but were definitely on on a path to become type 2 diabetics. And then there were shortages. I think that some of the production shortages were actually caused by some of the hurricanes that happened a few years ago. And then you had the two main companies that were having problems getting the auto injector pens out. And so then you had people that actually had type 2 diabetes that weren't able to get their medication, and there was a lot of resentment towards the people that were on it for weight loss. And then now it's, oh, well, you don't have enough to lose, so why are you on it? So there's a lot of, I think it's settled down, but you're right. It got very popular on TikTok. And I think the discussion and the discourse around that really contributed to the bias around taking GLPs. Now it's a lot more accessible, though.
To be clear, you do not service the GLP.
Yes,
If somebody comes to you and they're either thinking about getting on it, they can ask that of you. And of course, you'll talk about your, expertise and give them the knowledge that they would need.
Our lawyer will make sure that we definitely say that we do not provide any GLP. Because we've already gotten,
we will be clear.
We've gotten emails from Novo Nordisk, which is a huge, it's one of the big competitors next to Eli Lilly that produces the medication. And they sent us a cease and desist to stop selling it. We were like, we're not selling it. But we were talking about it in our blog.
Okay. I was like, where did they come across this information?
They just saw us talking about it on our blog. So no, we do not provide. That's out of our scope. And I'm not really interested in prescribing it, but I am really interested in helping people understand how it works and how it can work with their body. So for example, we did have a client that came in and started taking it, and they had come in before they started the medication, and they came in about 2 months later. They had lost 20 pounds, which fantastic. I don't want to judge. They had a lot to lose. 11 of it was muscle. And that is more than 50%. And so,
they did not know that until, of course, they did the testing with you.
They were so happy they lost weight, and I was very happy for them that they lost weight, but they were losing the wrong kind of weight. And one thing to remember about these medications is, as life-changing as they are for many people, they are not muscle sparing. And one of the most profound effects of this medication is this reduction in food noise, which people who deal with ADHD and food addictions and obsessive, even compulsive eating, while that is such a mental relief for them, it can also kill your hunger cues, which isn't good. Like, we need hunger cues.
Right.
But, unless you've had food noise, which I have in the past, you don't know what that's like. But you can't go so far that you don't feel like eating. Like, fasting the whole time isn't the solution either.
So the person that you just referred to, did they have any sense that they had lost that much muscle mass? So you don't feel it per se. But so let's get into why that's so important. I mean, if you're not lifting weights, if you're not carrying a toddler around, whatever the things are, right? Like, what are the biggest detriments to not having the right healthy amount of muscle mass? What should we be preventing? Whether you're 46, whether you're 76 or 16.
Well, as a woman who is in perimenopause, okay,
we're in the club.
We're about to turn 41 over here. One thing my doctor told me years ago, and I loved it. She's like, you better get all the muscle you can before you hit menopause, because it will melt off your body afterwards. And she was, somewhat joking, but somewhat serious. And she's just like, the more you can go into menopause with, the higher your defenses are. And one thing that we know is that muscle can be an indicator of, I want to make sure I word this right, but basically, the higher the muscle that you have, like adequate muscle mass on your body, decreases your occurrence of all-cause mortality. So it decreases your risk of all types of death. And when you think about getting older and you think about people who fall and then they break a hip and then they go into rehab.
First comes to mind.
Exactly. They fall because they've lost their ability to, move their body and keep their body up and protect it. And another thing is that if somebody gets cancer, which breast cancer runs rampantly in my family, you have a better chance at success with the chemotherapy if you have high muscle mass.
Okay.
I don't know why exactly. That's just a statistic that I learned about, and that was enough for me to go, okay, this is really important. But and you also look a lot better with muscle. Like, let's just admit that it's not just about health and wellness. It's not just about how you feel.
It's a boost in your confidence.
Huge. And you
absolutely
have the strength to do the stuff. I mean, we were talking about the traveling that I do for my other gig, and getting I can shove a lot of luggage into my carry-on, so I need to be able to get it up over my head.
Okay, another good example you don't think about.
Functional. It's about being functional, being able to get yourself up off the floor if you want to play with your kids, and then moving stuff. And so it just has a lot to do with overall health. And personally, I will say this, and this is just my own anecdotal observation, is that when we have clients come in, and I used to be a paramedic as well. Both of us were actually paramedics. We're still licensed, but we don't work in the field anymore. I'm medically retired. But when we have clients, so for that reason, I'm really good at guessing ages.
Okay.
Whether kids or adults, like I'm usually really good at it. And when I have a when I have a client come in.
I think I said patient earlier too. So. Get the terminology right.
When I have a client come in and they like just look really good for their age. And I'm like, are you really 78? Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, are you really 78? Or, we have a physician that comes in and he's, 60, I think he's 66, 68. He is in better shape than some of our teenagers.
Looking 48.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
The man has so little fat on his body. He's just jacked for muscle. It's crazy to see it. And so, when I look at the people that just age well, they have three things in common.
Okay.
Which is high muscle mass, low visceral fat, meaning their waist. Okay, so we can be healthy at any size.
Definitely something that I'm always thinking about.
Yep. Yes, this is where
the foodie that I am,
the
wine drinker that I am.
I know. That's we call for me Cabby. That's the Cabernet.
Cabby. Oh, I'm gonna tell you Shardy or something like that. But visceral fat is only right here. Is that
visceral
correct?
Fat is the fat that lines
or could it be your butt too?
Nope. That's subcutaneous, and that kind of fat. I don't mind a little bit of fat there, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
There's a little bit of, the subcutaneous fat, I try to remind people, has purpose. It's part of our endocrine system. It keeps us warm. It keeps us protected. It gives us curves. It has functionality. Too much is not good.
Yeah.
But we never want to get rid of all of it. And then we lose, you lose menstruation when that happens if you go too far down.
Okay.
And I'm sure it has similar issues on the masculine side with their hormones. But the visceral fat increases the higher the visceral fat, and basically this is people are familiar with fatty liver disease. That's not the only organ that's subject to problems, but the visceral fat will increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, and 8 or 10 types of cancer. It's very high.
I remember you telling me that, and that definitely was that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's more vanity, right? It's gosh, I really want to lose that fat, but sometimes I'm just not willing to do enough about it because I'm going to go out to eat again or whatever.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about the fact that underneath it all, it could be leading to 8 to 10 diseases.
Higher risk of,
which is obviously really important to think about, especially being a mom with kids, just all the things that I'm just not, that's not the first thing that I think about, and so that was an eye opener. For me too.
So when I see someone who has a low visceral fat, a high muscle mass, or adequate, I should say, not too high, but an adequate muscle mass, low visceral fat, and a healthy VO2 max, those people are aging well, and they're aging independently. I don't think people really understand the importance of that, but they're aging well, they're aging independently, they're living independently. Their kids aren't afraid of them, falling over and breaking a hip when they're not there. They're not trying to put a life alert on them around the holidays. We had those discussions. And so those are really the big three. And we have the testing to help you not only track where you're at, but how to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Okay. So on the visceral fat subject, because we talked about, one of the things that you can do is you can talk about custom meal plans. You do that with the wet nutritionists.
Yes, we're dietitians.
With the dietitians. And are they in your location, or do you just partner with them elsewhere?
They have been partnered with us, with the company itself, for over 10 years.
Okay.
And so, so what they do is they basically do an intake. And then they exchange via email. So this can all be done virtually, but they're there for support. Depending on what package that they use, they can get additional support from them. We have a couple different ones that we go to for different things. Like one of them works great with we like sending women to her just because of her own experiences with it, and then we have got another one who's got a specialty certificate in adolescent athletes.
Okay,
so any athletes that we have, she's perfect for them because she has an additional training, and that's just kind of her niche. So
is that something that you want to talk about? Like, for example, one of the questions that I had is, we're hearing so much about get your protein and get your fiber. Is that something that we want to get into, or is that something that's more like, hey, great questions, but really what you want to do is get connected with your team to figure out what makes sense for you based on what the data shows? That's
a great question. We're always going to be an advocate for both. We're not prescriptive with either, just because of the fact that we aren't the dietitians, but what the dietitian can do. So you could go to our dietitian, you could add macros you could add macros to your plan, or you could add an actual meal plan, and they'll calculate all that for you, but they'll actually take your test. They're used to working with our tests. So they'll want to know, what are your goals? What are your circumstances? What do we need to know about your eating habits? We had one guy that was like, I don't cook, so you better figure it out with fast food and Chipotle. And they were like, okay, this is gonna be a challenge. And they had to fit it into his macros. And we had another client.
And they figured it out?
They figured it out. And we had another client that she said, I will not, be retiring my 4 ounces of wine each night, 4 ounces of wine and a piece of chocolate. So that was factored in every single night. And so we really, everything about what we do can be customized. At least we go above and beyond to make sure that it can. We had a client that said, I don't want to know. They came in for a body composition scan. They said, I can't see my weight.
Okay.
Like they had a previous bad history with it. They were like, I want to know my body composition, but do not show me my weight. So we turned the little screen away from it, and then we created basically, you remember when you saw that big screen and we had all your stuff? We had a special drop down for her that did not display her weight anywhere.
I love that. Yeah.
Like we just, we want to make people feel psychologically safe. Yeah. It is such a vulnerable experience.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, we obviously will talk about that. We wanted to talk about that here, but even on your website, you make that very clear. Like, this is a no shame, like very transparent environment, whatever it is that you guys need, whatever it is to help them feel welcome and good and comfortable. Like, you guys make that very clear that is like of the utmost importance to everybody. So I love that. Okay. So when it comes to, other, like, people are coming in generally for weight loss, increase their muscle mass, and meal plans. And what else have we not covered that is kind of the ideal person that would be looking to, like, they would get with you that they can't get with other people here around KC, potentially?
Athletes.
Athletes is a big one.
So we work with a lot of youth athletes, but also, your weekend warrior, your person that wants to go, get a triathlon in, or maybe they're training for their first marathon, or maybe they are already an endurance athlete. We've got an event that we're doing with a local group of endurance athletes on Monday, and they're coming in. They're like, what, how could they want to learn more about VO2 max tests and what it could tell them about themselves and how they can improve, because you can't improve what you don't measure. So if you're going out there and just throwing a few weights around and walking a little bit, but you're not actually measuring what you're doing, it's a little harder. It's like, I don't know how to explain it better than would you ever cook something for the first time without a recipe to guide you? Maybe. Maybe baking was a better one. Baking's more of a science. Okay? Yeah. Would you ever try and bake a homemade from scratch cake without at least glancing at something and using that to measure? And that's maybe not a great example.
No, but I think it is. I think most people probably would know that baking has to be so precise to get it right. It's to the end goal of what you're.
Helps. Yeah, it helps. Yeah, and so we take these assessments, give you data directly from your body. It's not guesstimating. It's taking the guesswork out of it. Yeah. So that you can kind of have a little bit more guidance with your approach.
Yeah. What are some things that you see people doing on the daily that we might not know could be hindering our ability to be, optimally healthier?
Undereating.
Yep.
Even our clients. Even our clients who are struggling with losing weight oftentimes are in a fast and binge cycle. They don't even realize their eating is disordered. Okay. And I should say that very gently. I'm not trying to say a bunch of people have disordered eating, but one of the things I noticed. So I used to do intermittent fasting, and I listened to all the books and I heard all the things, and I read that if you fasted at least 9 hours each night, it reduces your there was some stuff about cancer risk, and so I was interested in that. But what I found was that when I intermittent fasted, number one, it was super convenient for me. I got used to skipping meals because I worked on an ambulance where you didn't get time to eat, every few hours. You just had to work through it. And I think that actually conditioned me. I spent 15 years on an ambulance ignoring my hunger cues, which made it really easy for me to fall into fasting and call it health. Yeah. I could not get my protein in that window.
Right.
And so that's when I kind of dropped in, was like, I think that it could be good for some people if you can get your minimum amount in for the day. That was the intermittent fasting, that kind of window feeding time was, spent eating one meal, not a whole day's worth of food. So I couldn't get my protein in. And so what I see is people will they'll undereat until they don't, and then they overconsume the wrong thing, or they just go so many days without eating enough. I mean, the amount of people that are, that we see that are eating maybe 20 grams of protein per day. I mean, that doesn't give your body anything to work with when it comes to workouts. And then they're, fatigued. And they're
That's what I was going to say. What do they end up feeling?
Yeah,
lethargic, fatigued,
unmotivated. I just want to sit on the couch and scroll. I'm not sleeping well. They might, they might associate that with stress from work,
depression, the weather, not necessarily the actual balance of what they're eating.
Yeah, and all those things can contribute to it. I'm not
of course
minimizing those things, but you're right. It's like but sometimes we can't control the weather. Sometimes we can't control our depressive episodes that come on when they do. We can't control certain external factors and stress, but we can control how we nourish ourselves. And going back to, I think this is a great segue to go back to that 1,800 calories. Yeah. Before I understood, before I was a client of BodymetRx, and before we, opened our business here, a location here, I would have taken, I need 1,800 calories, and I would have cut 500 from that, because that's what you were told to do. Cut 500 calories a day. At the end of the week, you've cut 3,500, you lose a pound a week. No. 1,800 is not only we'll say it's mine, because I think mine's about the same.
Okay.
1,800 is not only my baseline, it's also my goal caloric intake if I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
My maintenance is actually 2,300. So when your maintenance, like meaning I don't want to change anything, is 2,300, you cut 500 off of that and you have 1,800.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be like trying to put 1 gallon of gas in your vehicle and trying to drive up to Des Moines.
Yeah.
Are you going to make it?
Nope.
No. The difference between your car and your body is that your body is so intelligent and it will adapt to that 1 gallon of gas, right? We'll adapt to that 500 calories, but you're not going to like the results.
Right.
It's going to slow down your digestion. It's going to slow down your systems. It's going to make you tired because it doesn't want you to work out.
Right.
And our brains use so much fuel as well. Like, so I'm in, one of the things I do is continuing education for EMS providers. I have to make sure, and I don't like eating in the morning. So I still eat, or I don't fast, but first thing in the morning is very difficult for me. But if I'm going to be filming that day, tough.
Yeah.
Like,
push through.
Choke it down.
Tough shit.
Yeah, exactly. Put it down and get some carbs in there because your brain needs it.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned eating 20 grams of protein. Is like 100 grams of protein sort of like an easy reference for, is that right, for women, what we should be eating, or do we even get into that?
It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. It's not a bad goal. It's not a bad goal. I think what we used to be told was that your body couldn't take in more than 35, I think, at a time. And more recent research has suggested that that's not actually true. And it also led to people just not eating enough, period.
Yeah.
But like, I drank a Fairlife protein shake, had 42 grams of protein.
Right.
And sometimes that's just, all the time and effort that I have, but I'll make sure I get that in. Generally speaking, 100 seems to be like a TikTok recommendation. We'll put it that way.
Okay. No, this is what I want to hear, because I've actually had other episodes where we've talked about like, watch out for misinformation on TikToks. And this is where I would love to debunk anything or help people beware.
I'm sure that 100 is not right for somebody. And that's where we will tell people, hey, you need to eat more protein. Yeah. And you need more fiber. Fiber will really help with that visceral fat. Yeah. And that blood glucose regulation. But we always refer people back to our dietitians, because they're the ones that are going to calculate the right amount of macros. And if another thing that we tell people is, if they find out that they're supposed to be eating 2,500 calories a day, because we've had that, and they're like, I'm eating like 1,300. Yeah. The goal is not to eat 2,500 the next day. Sure. It's like a slow,
it'd be a big adjustment
build. And our dietitians do talk to them about the kind of scheduling increase, and, take a minute, let your body settle, retest, see how it's liking it, and then go from there.
What about somebody like me who eats out a lot? And we talked about this, but how would you recommend for somebody who doesn't like to cook at home, who likes to eat out a lot, not even necessarily fast food, fast casual, but, loves to go out on the Kansas City restaurant scene? Like, what's a good way to help somebody count calories or kind of stay on track?
I would say start with just logging what you're eating. Okay. If you can just log what you eat, that is like a first step towards just being aware. It's creating body awareness too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing where, you asked me about that one client that lost 20 pounds and 11 of it was muscle. And you asked, did she have any awareness of it? A lot of times we have this dissociation between our mind and body. So we don't actually feel those changes. The same thing goes with the amount that we eat. And so when someone goes from not tracking anything, I always recommend just write it down. Like start having an awareness and start asking yourself, oh, I kind of overate that day. Oh, it's probably because I skipped breakfast. And so start looking for patterns.
Okay.
And then track macros. Don't worry so much about calories. Look at
what
macros.
does that mean exactly to track
Great
macros?
question. So macros are going to be grams of protein, grams of fiber, grams of carbohydrates, grams of fat.
Okay. Got it. So if I go out and have the chicken spadini,
Yeah.
do a quick search and kind of figure out what that would look like. Yeah.
And so even if it's not 100% accurate, at least you're getting an idea.
Yeah.
And then
Some
finding
context
ways-
around what you're
And then
ingesting.
finding ways to work with it, because the thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to create anything, we don't want to recommend anything that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And like I said, so one of the things to know about us is we're a safe place to tell all of your crazy diets too. Okay. And like we've had some people come in where, I won't recommend any of them, right? Because number one, we're not the nutritionist, we're not the dietitian, but number two, we do believe that everything works for somebody, but nothing works for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So some people, GLPs aren't going to work. For some people, vegan diet's not going to work, or whatever it is that they're called to. But we had a client come in who's on a carnivore diet.
Yeah.
And that's not a diet like I said, I don't recommend any of them, right? Not that I'm not saying they don't work. It's just we're very non-denominational, I guess.
Yes.
like
You have the
diets.
data to lead down the next path. Yeah.
So they come to us and say, I'm going to do this diet. It's like, okay, cool. We're doing your scan now. Let's come back in 6 weeks and see if your body actually likes it. Right? Like, let's just see if your body actually likes it. This guy was able to complete a half Ironman, having eaten a porterhouse steak the night before and a rack of ribs and nothing the whole day. I'm not recommending this either. This is not a recommendation.
No, but I like the stories. I like the anecdotes to kind of hear the different cases.
So I'm doing okay, so let me back up.
I think it really supports the fact that you should come in and do this for yourself, because you literally cannot compare what you're doing to anyone else.
Yes. And so he comes in, he does his his resting metabolic rate test. So that's the tube in your mouth, and we're going to tell you how many calories you burn at rest. And his is like through the roof. Of course, he's got a lot of muscle on his body. He's in his 60s.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of muscle on his body, and he's an athlete. And I look at it, I was like, oh, wow, you're burning 100% fat. And he goes, well, I should be. I haven't had a carb in a year. And I went, really?
Okay.
I was like, are you low carb? He goes, I'm carnivore. I was like, interesting. Okay. I wouldn't have guessed that based on everything that we had, talked about. Very healthy, very healthy individual. That's not to say that carnivore is healthy. It just worked well with his body.
Yeah, not everybody can take that and run with it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it is or isn't, is my bigger point. We have a very neutral attitude towards people's, interventions. We just say, what does the data say? And the data said yes for him. And so we actually did his VO2 max after that, and his being 100% fat burner paired with being an athlete, I was like, this is going to be a long test. And it was. I ran it for like 27 minutes. It was awful.
Oh my gosh.
Because he just
you know how far I made it. I definitely wouldn't have made it.
No, I get cut off like at 12. I'm not a runner.
Not being the runner.
But it gives me an idea of what their body is going to do, because the goal of the VO2 max test is to get you to 100% carb burning. And he just kept trying to dip into fat. He was so efficient at burning fat that he just kept dipping into fat even when we had him maxed out. And it was really interesting.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
Now, did he come in one time or did he come
he's
back?
come multiple times.
Okay, so can you kind of talk to that? So people come in, they can come in for the initial consultation. You have memberships, you have kind of talk about how people would interact with you on what kind of schedule or ongoing.
Well, one of the things I always like to remind people is if you're not sure and you're just really curious, but you want to be prepared to test if it works out, is schedule a consult with us.
Yeah.
Reach out to Natalie, our office manager. Schedule a consult. She'll block off, the hour afterwards. So if you're interested in getting a couple tests, no pressure. You can come in, take a look, see what it's like, and then you can decide whether or not you want to test there. One of the other things, and I failed to mention in the very beginning, is we do have a very strict protocol to get you the most accurate results. And this is a big difference between us and a scan that you can walk up to at some random place at any time of the day is that you have to come in fasted. You have to come in having no water or food for 4 hours prior, 2 or 4 hours prior, just depending on the test. No working out prior to, and no caffeine prior to. So we do have a little coffee bar. So
I was going to say, I was definitely served a hazelnut coffee, so thank you for that.
Yeah. So if you come in hypocaffeinated, we will have it waiting for you as soon as you're done. We have water there. Bring your snacks, whatever you need to do. But we do that because it's trying to keep as many variables out as possible. So we try and control for at least those things. We can't control for cycles. We can't control for hormones. We can't control for what you're doing in between these places, but we can control for those things that will change the test results if you do them. Yeah. And so, one thing I always recommend the body composition to everybody. That one's a $49 test. It gives you the most amount of information. That's the one that has the visceral fat, the cellular, hydration, the muscle and all that. That gives you a lot of data. Yep. And then the 3D body scan, also $49. We recommend that only to people who are planning on changing their body shape. So we do have some people that come in because they're just like, I just want to come in quarterly and just make sure I stay status quo. We're not going to recommend that one to them because there's really no benefit. Because I really find that, the first one's kind of like, okay, that's what I look like as a Michelin man. These are my 21 measurements, and that's great. But if my body isn't going to change because I don't plan on losing fat or gaining muscle, it's kind of moot. Unless you're just curious about what your body, size are, and then that's fine. But I find personally that the subsequent tests of the 3D body scan are the valuable ones. So what I was able to show you of my changes over a couple of years, I was like, I would have never seen that in the mirror. Yeah. I would have never seen that in the mirror. So interesting. Yeah. And, one of the things about our data and our tests is it doesn't care about your feelings. So you could be so hard on yourself. And I remember this happened to me. Aren't we all? Probably back, I know. It was back in 2022. So we hadn't quite opened yet. And I still had all my data at the California location. We went back for Thanksgiving. And I remember thinking to myself, I was in such a bad mood about getting tested because I felt this sense of pressure, like I'm going to help open one of these and I can't even control my own weight and all this stuff. And so I'm totally
beating yourself up.
Oh my gosh, it was awful. Justin would just go on about it if he was here to tell you, because he was really trying to emotionally support me. And I go in there and I had lost so much fat. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
I didn't see it. And I was weighing myself regularly.
That's so crazy.
I just didn't see it.
So another example of the great experience to go in to enlighten yourself and to show the reward that you actually have at the end of it that you wouldn't necessarily see.
And then sometimes you don't have changes and it's a deflating, disappointing experience. And we have to make space for that too. I was just talking to a client about that and they were like, nothing changed and I'm changing everything. And that's okay. That is okay to be frustrated. We don't have enough data to say that this isn't working yet, though. So
I was just going to say, at what point do you pivot or do you say stick to it? Sometimes it will take a different period of time than we thought or, whatever.
I will always recommend continuing to get data. And I don't just say that because I want you to keep coming back to us, but rather because time's going to pass anyways and changes are going to happen if you're not paying attention. Yeah. Or I should say, the wrong changes might happen if you're not paying attention. And I dealt with that before where I would go months without getting on the scale. And that's when I would gain 20 pounds and not realize it. Got it. And so, I might have gained some muscle. And because I wasn't tracking those things, I didn't give myself the due credit for it. So I think it's just a matter of just acknowledging that this is a very this can be a very difficult relationship with yourself with it. And so I keep that in mind. And, the people that work for us also have that kind of mindset with it.
You're probably playing a little bit of therapist at times.
You have to be trauma informed.
Yeah.
Because that's a big factor of why a lot of us carry extra weight. And that, if you go into reading them, that's a whole other topic, but I am very mindful and aware of that.
No, but I think that's an extra benefit that comes to working with you guys. Yeah. And obviously I sat with you guys for 3 hours and got to know you and Justin, which was really cool to be able to know the experience that you guys bring in terms of that hospitality and the warmth and the just you are there for everybody. Come on in. So.
I have a PhD in psychology too, so I think that probably helps a little bit. But it's really the tone that we set. that we set in our office. And so getting back to your original question, I would say you're going to come in, you're going to get these tests. The body composition test, the one that we talked about that's similar to DEXA, that one we recommend every like 12 weeks.
Got it.
So that's like a quarterly one, unless you've recently had any type of bariatric surgery, or you are on a GLP-1 medication, we recommend that monthly.
Got it.
Shouldn't be going more than 3 to 4 weeks, just because we got to make sure that we're getting enough for what we need. And then the VO2 max and the resting metabolic rate test, that one's more of a every, at most quarterly. You don't need to do that more. And that's only if big things change. So if somebody came to us and they lost 50 pounds and they're like, I'm stuck and I still have 30 more to go, we're going to say, let's retest your metabolism, because it might have adjusted. It might be different now that you're carrying 50 less pounds on your body.
Yeah, that
let's
makes sense.
check. So if any big changes, if we've had mothers come in who are still breastfeeding as soon as so they're in their 4th trimester, the test will definitely account for how many more calories they are burning. It will register 400 to 500 extra calories depending on how much they're breastfeeding. And then a few weeks after that, we say come back for that, so we can, test to see what your new baseline is.
Dare I say I miss those days. Those were recognizably more calorie burning days. So.
That's what I've heard. I don't know personally, but that's what I've heard. And
having gone through 2 of them.
So those ones are more like, you're going to go get a baseline and then you're going to come back as needed. Somebody who's training for a marathon that's like, oh, my VO2 max is only 30. I'd really like to get it to 40. They're going to go train. They're going to work with a cardio coach or whoever they're working with, and then they'll come back and test that in a few months.
So a lot of people are more maybe like quarterly. And then if you are in a bit more of a athletic or GLP environment, maybe monthly.
If you're
roughly.
having some sort of intervention and you want to test to see, is this working? You wouldn't want to go too far down the wrong path, right? You wouldn't want, like I'll give you this anecdote. We had somebody came in and said, I'm going vegan. Awesome. They came in and their muscle went down, but their visceral fat went down too, because they're eating so much fiber. Yeah. Which was fantastic. But I said, you're going to have to find a protein. Yeah. Like it has to be vegan, but you're going to have to find a protein. She came in 6 weeks later and she had course corrected. Yeah. But imagine if she had gone 6 months. Yeah. That's time wasted going down the wrong path. So that's what it is. It's biofeedback. It's data, or I should say data feedback about the interventions that you're doing to create changes in your body, and then giving yourself some space to do more. And sometimes more is needed. Sometimes they need to go work with getting hormones balanced, working with, different physicians for other things. Like that's when we talk GLP-1s and stuff. But
one thing that I found interesting with mine is you had mentioned, now I came in at 8 a.m. So, same what you said, I hadn't, I wasn't hydrated, nothing, but it said that I was dehydrated. And I literally always have said, like, I drink 100+ ounces of water a day. Yeah. How could I possibly be dehydrated? And we talked about electrolytes, and I think we even talked about, like, is there a possibility that I am hydrating myself beyond the point of what's necessary, that it's dehydrating me? Is that a thing?
It's 2 parts. I can't say for sure. Yeah. I can't say for sure, but that is a theory, is that when we drink too much water and we displace the electrolytes, and now you've got, it's something about like you're flushing the electrolytes out of your body. Have you ever heard like you don't want your pee to be clear? Have you ever heard that?
No.
Really?
I'm like, I thought it wasn't supposed to be yellow, but I thought you wanted it to be more clear. Maybe not.
I mean, I'm not a urologist, but it's supposed to be like a pale yellow. Okay. So it's supposed to be like super dark and concentrated because you're dehydrated. But if you go too far in the opposite direction, you actually just pee out all your electrolytes, and it's not doing.
Which I think is what I have been doing.
Maybe. And it's 2 parts.
But I learned this,
And I'm so glad that you saw that, because it can be so, you're like, it's not easy to drink 100 ounces of water, okay? And so to think that you're going to have the plumpest, like,
we all have these giant water bottles,
like you're putting it to good use. It's not just for looks. And then you're like, where's my hydration? And we always hear the same thing. People go, oh, I haven't had water this morning. That's not what that is.
That's so, and I had never gone through that before.
And here's the other half of that, is if their muscle is low, then their capacity to store water is also low. A lot of our hydration, a lot of the water in our body is stored in the muscles.
Okay? So what does that mean then? If it's not like, am I peeing more?
No. What I'm saying is that when you did the test and it had your hydration levels on the lower end, what I look, and I don't remember off the top of my head what your muscle was, but if I see somebody that has, so we have everything's red, yellow, green. Okay, so green is obviously our ideal zone that we want to be in. Yellow's a little like, okay, it's okay, but we've got work to do. Red's like, nope. We've had people that their muscle is like at the lowest point of red. They're not even registering on hydration because their hydration is so low because there's nowhere to put it. There's not enough. Like, think of like your muscles as your tank.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have it's like, okay,
You don't have the tanks.
you don't have a large enough water bottle.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to put that amount of water in a tiny little Dixie cup, it's going to be a problem. It's not going to store.
Okay.
And so maybe, you are peeing it right
Like,
out.
I
'Cause
love
it has to go
talking through
somewhere.
this because it just starts connecting the dots a lot more as to like what's going on.
Yeah.
And I find it really fascinating as like the older I get, the more I want to know about wellness and, and everything. So,
And the same thing with our athletes. So we've got our endurance athletes. I pick on them a lot because Justin's one. But our endurance
easy
athletes
target, right?
that will prioritize their running over everything else, and they don't have enough muscle on their body, and then they have challenges with their nutrition. You've ever heard of bonking, like where they run out of energy on their course, or they get goo gut, or they have problems with like absorption of the gel packets and stuff like that. I want to look at their muscle. Do you have enough muscle on your body to store it somewhere? Because what happens is the water follows essentially, I'm gonna say this try not to say this wrong, but essentially the water follows the glucose that gets stored in the muscles.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have enough muscle to store those things for later, it's going to be harder to pull from them when you're out there doing an event. And so we find that athletes that are trying to tweak their nutrition also have to look at how much muscle's on your body.
Okay, so let's just ask a really dumb question.
Love it.
The only way to increase your muscle is to lift weights.
Yes.
Run, walk, bike.
Lift, and lift heavier.
Okay.
And then, recovery. Rest and recovery is just as important, but you need carbohydrates do play a role in muscle growth, but you need to give your body protein. Protein are the amino acids, the building blocks of our muscles. So that's where getting protein in of whatever, and a good source of protein.
Okay.
Not all protein's created equal. You know what? This happened to me actually. I was spending extra money on bone broth instead of chicken broth because I was like, well, there's 15 grams of protein in it.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the quality of it. It's like 2%. Like, it's not a complete protein. It's not the same protein as you get from like a whey protein, scoop of whey protein, or a chicken breast. And so I stopped wasting my money on that and I went back to chicken broth.
Okay.
Because it wasn't actually, so you got to look at that actual label and you got to look at the percentage.
God, we can get sold on so many things.
It worked on me, and it's significantly more expensive. So I ditched that, and then but look for complete proteins. These are going to be like those protein yogurts, those yogurts with extra protein in them. Obviously any types of meat, that kind of stuff is going to be really helpful. And those shakes, I they're a little processed, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to grab what I
Aren't we
can.
all? Like, we need convenience. I do think that's a really, I think a lot of people would want to know, how do I find something that's convenient? Because I just don't feel like I have the time all the time to go, cook chicken or whatever it is that, you get the best protein.
Protein's getting its time right now. It's not like back in the 90s where low fat everything. Right now, everything's high protein, so it's a lot easier to find things and understand what that is. But just understanding what a gram of protein is, a gram of fiber, where to get these sources, I think could be really, really helpful.
Any other things that you see a lot of people doing that we should stop or do more of, do less of or do more of during the day that could impact our metabolic health? Is that the best way to put it? That we haven't touched on yet.
No.
And if not, that's okay.
I feel like we've touched on everything, but I think, one of the things that psychologically we haven't touched on is, getting into a healthier relationship with your body.
Yeah, let's talk about the psychological side.
Gosh. Like
even
having, having an ability to walk in there, take a look at something and give yourself some credit for something you find. Like, we've always had somebody that comes in and has something that they can improve on. That's why they're coming to us, right? That's why they're coming to us, because they want to improve on something. But, give yourself some grace for what good is. Like I said, if I had these available to me when I was 20, I wouldn't have given myself so much grief over my weight, because I would have been like, that's muscle, and that muscle is queen right now.
Yeah.
And I would have, really, by the time I was 20, I didn't have as much in my head. I thought I had 50 pounds to lose, and that wasn't actually the case.
Right.
I had like 10 or 20.
You were putting a challenge in front of you that was more so than
wasn't
needed.
even real. It wasn't even real. So get curious about your body, learn to love your body where it's at. Again, when it comes to obesity, and this is controversial still, but the WHO has recognized it. It is a medical condition. We look at it as not your fault that you're obese, but it is your responsibility, and we can help you with that. And then, same thing with athletes. It's such a there's got to be a plan out there, and so we just help people find that plan, and work with what their body's natural inclination is, and work with what they've got so that they can reach their goals. And we want to age well.
Yes, we do. Okay, athletes. Let's talk about that. So I know that you met our mutual friend Ashley, who is Embrace Wellness with Ashley. I'm going to draw a blank on the spot as I'm trying to remember her Instagram, but I will tag her.
Ashley More Wellness.
Ashley More Wellness, and she changed it. Okay. But you guys met through, I think, one of her boys' baseball
clubs,
So do you want, just to kind of put it out there, do you want to work with more youth athletes? Do you want to work with more professional sports teams here? Like, who would be an ideal kind of group within that realm in Kansas City that you guys would love to be able to provide this to?
Jokingly, we work a lot with frustrated mothers and teen boys that don't want to eat.
Okay.
Like, it's just
teen boys don't want to eat.
They don't want to eat enough.
I have 2 daughters, so I don't know that, but I'm like, what?
Maybe it's because maybe it's just those are the people that get into our thing, but we get them on the RMR, we get them on the VO2 max, and we're just like, their caloric estimates are out of this world. Like,
really?
They're so high. And we had one, he was a football athlete. 16 years old, and his mom was like, he gets out there and he just, my nephew's the same way. He's a basketball athlete. My sister's constantly harping on him to eat, and then he gets kind of, Mom, I've got a headache, or I don't feel good. You didn't eat. You can't go running amok out here and, not running amok, but you can't go, playing all these sports and not eat and expect, to perform. And so there is a stubbornness of like I don't know what it is, with maybe their hunger cues haven't really adjusted. It's during that growth spurt where they're starting to get, that 12 to 14-year-olds. But then they see this data and they go, oh, and then the moms go, oh, that's going to cost me a lot of money to feed them.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Because then you have to factor in the calories that they're burning while they're training. But we have a lot of parents. We see a lot of parents putting a lot of money into their athletes, into their kids' sports.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Kids' sports, like, as you probably know now, with these people coming in, there's so much going into it that I can see this being a huge growth opportunity too.
Yeah, and
for all of them.
We completely agree. And so we look at it as we help you kind of protect your investment. Like, what's a way to optimize performance? What's a way to optimize recovery? What's a way to make sure that they're not under eating, especially for the amount of effort that they're putting out there in training and games. And same thing with like anybody who's doing a GLP-1, especially if they're getting it at any of our local vendors. They're not cheap, and so you want to make sure that you're losing the right stuff. And so we really help you approach it in a strategic way where you're protecting your investment. But yeah, athletes alike are very we see a lot of those. So
okay, good to know. Are there other things that you see people doing today that is maybe misinformation that is kind of being thrown around on social media or otherwise that we should mention just to be wary of or just be cognizant of?
Well, there is so much information out there. And so that's where I go back to, well, everything might work for somebody, but nothing works for everybody. And these tests can help you identify what works best for you. Be wary of a lot of stuff. It's our bodies aren't that complicated, really. They are and they're not. Like, just eat whole food, limit the drinking, because I'm not giving it up anytime soon.
No, not either.
Move your body. Move your body, prioritize building muscle. Like, it's really, a lot of times I think, and I say this from personal experience, I mentally get in my way about getting these things done. I got dragged to the gym first thing this morning, and I didn't want to go. I did not want to go, but
you felt great afterwards, right?
I did. I really did. It always is the case, and from someone who had a very severe back injury and couldn't walk for several months, like, I'm not taking that for granted. I'm not. And then sometimes I still will.
Yeah, no kidding, because you're only human, right?
Yeah, but these tests have really, motivated me when I've steered off track.
Yeah. I have this in front of me. I don't know that there's anything that we want to point out with like mine in particular. I'm not saying like, oh, we need to get into all the measurements or whatever, but when you look at this, is there anything that you would kind of speak to for people who are curious, like, okay, tell me what I could expect, or like what you would kind of at a high level tell me, like my shape score.
Yeah.
I got good.
Yeah.
What is that? Good, great, bad?
That's part of the algorithm. That's one of the things that's going to take into account a few different. I don't work with people. That is one of the elements that's available in the StyleQ that I don't say, let's improve your shape score. No, that's not what we're.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's like, I wish we would have actually printed out your Sika. Yeah, that's your StyleQ. That's the thing that you rotated on.
Yeah. Okay. So I probably brought the wrong one to our episode, but I can find it and I can bring it into like social stuff that we do. So
I think that would be great. And like I said, I really like, and I'm kind of a sucker for interface and like the way things look, and so it's just pretty, it's colorful, it's got graphs and pictures and stuff like that.
And
we put it all in a folder for you so you keep it, save it, and then when you come back we show you the comparison. So we compare, we save all your data so that you can actually see what your progress is.
Okay, cool. Are there any things that you and Justin do on the regular as being in the position that you guys are doing? Like what's kind of a regular day look like for you guys of things that you always try to incorporate? Well, I know he's a big runner.
He's way better at it than I am.
So he's got that.
Yeah. I would say for him, he definitely prioritizes his cardio, which is where I nag him because I go, you need to lift some weights because he's a little out of balance with that. Whereas I'm like, he's like, you need to lift weights too. I'm like, okay, well, so that's where he drags me in. Like we struggle just the same as other people.
Yeah. Yep.
We struggle just the same as other people. I would say one of the things that we do that's kind of weird is that we'll go like test. I mean, we can test whenever we want, which is kind of neat. So he'll get done with a big event. Like he did the Ironman Florida in October, November 1st, actually. We were in Florida for that. And he came home and man, he had almost like 20 pounds of inflammation on his body.
What does that even mean?
I know. It basically, he gained 20 pounds and a lot of it went into his muscles. So all of a sudden his muscles look great because Ironmans are a beast, and
no kidding.
You break down.
Not in this lifetime will I ever be doing an Ironman. So
kudos to you.
I am here to hear his experience. Yeah,
it's and he would laugh at me. I say this with so much respect and admiration for what he's able to accomplish, but it is rough on the body. I mean, it's like for him, he's a finisher.
Yeah.
But he's not fast, and so it's like a 13 to 15 hour day.
Wow.
Of constant
I've known a few to do it.
And mentally he has got the fortitude for it. Like I would not be able to.
So much of the battle, no doubt.
And so we were able to see the fluid shifts, and then we retested him every couple of days, watched as it came down. But basically, I mean, his ankles were puffy, his body was sore. Your body breaks down like the muscle in order to repair it again. And so just making sure that he was, nourishing himself well enough to repair,
I'd be like,
recover.
Prop those ankles up and I'll have a glass of wine.
The piggies, exactly.
Exactly.
In between transitions, I was going and finding a bar and making friends and then going and finding them again. And
yes.
So that's my role. I mean, I just hope what people get out of this is like, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
It can be very vulnerable. You're not always going to like what you see, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But
and you also don't have to give up everything you love.
No, we're very real people.
Yeah.
Like we're very real people. We understand where people are at with it. And, we work with people who do give up everything because they're on a strict, thing for like a bikini competition and stuff. Much respect to them. We actually had a client that did that. She was coming down to see us from Nebraska.
Okay.
And man, watching her when she came back for her check-in right before her competition, she saw the results. I mean, she just broke down crying. She was so happy. I was so happy for her.
Yeah.
And she did well.
You guys are literally changing lives for people.
I just,
mentally, physically, emotionally. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I see the value in it. And one thing we've struggled is just letting people know we're here. So the opportunity to come onto your podcast and chat with you about it.
We want to get the word out.
It's been fantastic.
Good. good. Okay, perfect. Well, that is the goal here. Okay, let's get into some fun rapid fire questions. But anything else that we haven't covered yet? Any other funny or fun anecdotes or stories that you want to bring to the table? Anything about what it's like to come visit with you and Justin and your team?
No, I think, gosh, you asked so many great questions. I think we covered it all.
Everybody get in and get to experience you guys firsthand. Okay. All right. Well, let's start with what is on your Kansas City bucket list. What do you guys want to do?
I want to go to Atlas 9.
Yes, you should.
Do I do that?
Yep.
Yeah. I want to go on Saturday or Sunday. Are they open Sundays? We'll
I don't know, but you should definitely go.
Yeah.
Yes, we brought the whole family there right when they opened, and it is such a cool experience. And then they're like, I think they're like award winning right now or nominated or something.
I don't even want to look it up because I don't want to be like, I want to be surprised.
Okay.
Genuinely surprised. And Sunday's my birthday. So I was like,
happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Well, this will come out after your birthday. So happy birthday.
Yeah.
Back then when we did this.
So we were talking about it. He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to go to Atlas 9.
Yay. I love that.
We haven't been there yet.
Okay, great. Who would you like to see on the podcast? Who would you refer to come on? Who do you think would be a great person here in KC that people can learn or find some inspiration from?
Such a great question. Let me think.
You know a lot of...
You know what? Yeah, actually, I would recommend Mark and Tandy.
Okay.
Mark and Tandy... why am I blanking? I'm blanking on their last name right now. They're some of our best friends, and I'm.
That's okay. I was blanking on my friend's Instagram account. It's like late in the day, you know.
They have Revelation Wellness is their business.
I'll make sure I get them tagged. Don't worry.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Oh, sorry. They're a nurse physician team that do functional wellness.
Okay, great.
And so we partner a lot with them simply because we've used their services as well. But they're fantastic people. These are people who are constantly going to conferences, continuing their education, learning about peptides, learning about hormone replacement therapy. I mean, they have completely...
I want to know more about that.
Yeah, they've completely shifted my mindset of what I thought I understood about hormones and hormone replacement therapy. Like, I was taught to be afraid of it because it would cause cancer, and it actually turns out that those were very limited studies that actually were a bit misleading, and they just explain it, so much better.
And thank goodness there's so much more...
Heckler.
What is it?
Last name's Heckler.
Okay. I was going to say thank you, or thankfully there's so much more out there happening with people putting time and money into studying hormones and menopause and perimenopause and all the things, because it is, I mean, I think most women know that, like, it's crazy how much time has not been put into it. And now it's becoming a lot more prevalent, which is great.
You know what? You asked me this earlier, and I'm going to come back to this. You said, what are the things that we need to be careful of? Be careful of absolutes. You know, like, the solution to Western medicine flaws is not a complete eradication of it. And there's a reason why Western medicine evolved from Eastern, because we made some progress. Okay, so there's a benefit to integration of both and not completely ruling out, any demonization of everything as a whole. Pause.
Great reminder.
And so one thing I really like about their work, because they are conventionally trained, and is they bring in these, they stay true to their roots of what they understand from medical school and nursing school, but then they also bring in this longevity, this wellness, this, looking at the person from a holistic aspect. Have them on.
Yeah, I clearly need to get connected with them. Okay, I'm going to go look them up after this. Okay, what are some of your favorite things for you guys living here in Kansas City? What do you love about Kansas City, not being from here? Food. Tell me more. Where do you guys like to eat? Shout out some of your favorites.
Pot pie.
Yes.
Pot pie. Earl's, is it Earl's Premier?
Earl's Premier.
Yep. Love Earl's Premier. Nor's. Have you been to Nor's yet?
Yeah, I just went. I love the interior. I love their tapestry that they have on the wall. It's so beautiful.
They're fantastic. I'm also Lebanese too, so I'm a little partial to the Lebanese food.
Yep.
Let's see.
Yeah, I actually took my daughter there, and we did it was like a red pepper and pomegranate hummus kind of creation, and then we did the chicken wrap. Yeah, it was really good.
And their fries are so good.
Oh, the fries were so good.
So good. Yeah. I love so much food.
Me too.
I do. And you know what? No offense, but barbecue, I wish I liked more barbecue. Like, it just sticks to I love the barbecue here. I can't, how I'm from California.
Yeah.
You know how some people are like, I love Mexican food, but it doesn't agree with me. That's how I kind of feel about barbecue. So I eat it every so often.
Yeah.
But then I'm burping it for 7 days straight.
Yep.
And it doesn't taste good on the 7th day.
Yeah. No, that's completely fair. Yeah. All right. So let's do, where can people find and follow you?
Okay. So you can find us on online at BodymetRx, so BodymetRx.
BodymetRx. Yeah.
BodymetRx KC. So if you go to BodymetRx, you'll find our California location.
Yep.
So you got to find BodymetRx KC. We are on all social media platforms. And then BodymetRxKC.com is our website.
Okay.
Give us a call, text us. You'll get Natalie. We can get you in for an appointment, or you can follow our links to get an appointment to come in.
Yes.
If you're not sure what you need, or you're just curious where you should start, I mean, just go with we offer free consults.
Yeah.
Come in and
definitely
see
take
us.
advantage of that. And you guys are in Overland Park, roughly where?
95th and Metcalf area.
Perfect. And such a booming location, by the way.
Yeah,
So that's a great place to be. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know that I had such a good experience talking to you guys. We literally left that 3-hour time period being like, we could have continued talking. And like, we need to go to Pot Pie together and we need to go hang out because we had such a good time chatting. And this has been super enlightening for me to learn so much about what you guys are doing. And I'm really, really excited for people to find you guys and to be able to come in and understand what they don't know today and how they can, work through what they're trying to achieve. So this has been great.
All right. We're looking forward to working with them all. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in and finding inspiration in these incredible stories. If you love what you hear, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a rating, and share the show to help these Kansas City voices reach even more listeners.